Ash and Go are finally back. Let's do this. Yo, what's up everyone? Treyman1 here. Welcome back to our first review in about 2 months of episode 23 of Pokémon Journeys. Guys, I'm very excited to be finally back making reviews. And this episode I probably wouldn't have enjoyed as much if we didn't have this long hiatus because, man, it was just so good seeing these characters again and everything like that. Let me go ahead and get to the summary and my thoughts. Now, this episode really doesn't have too much of a plot focus, so I'll be pointing out a lot of interesting things that I really liked. To begin with, I really like that Ash was training his Riolu and Mr. Mime. I think that was a really cool scene showing that Ash is actually training his, Riolu since it's a baby Pokemon that only knows Vacuum Wave and it wants to get stronger. Also, really enjoy that Go is actually feeding all of his Pokemon in the Sakuragi parks. Go has a lot of Pokemon, and I do believe each and every one of Go's Pokemon that he's caught in the series appeared in this episode, which I really got to give this episode a lot of credit for because this is like the perfect episode to come back on, basically. Like, we had this big hiatus for 2 months, and the episode we come back, they show off all the Pokemon that Ash and Go have caught throughout the series. Like, I know it's not intentional, because they didn't know about this hiatus going to be happening, but I just feel like this is the perfect episode to come back to remind us all of all the Pokemon Go and Ash caught, and just really, go into their personalities a bit more. For example, Beedrill. Basically, there's a Pokemon that's been stealing all the food in the Sakuragi parks. And here we just see Beedrill like all mad. His arm around Ash like, hey bud, I need some food, man. I ain't get to eat today. And just throughout this entire episode, we just get to see these Pokemon filled with a lot of personality. A lot of these Pokemon that Go caught became a lot more memorable. One of those is being Sandile. I remember in the episode, Go just kind of threw the Pokeball at him. I'm like, oh, that's it. But in this episode, they really did go into detail with Sandile's personality and made it one of my favorites, just like Ash's Sandile. The comedy was pretty good in this episode as well, with Farfetch almost eating his own leak for crying out loud. And I'm really glad to see that Scyther has gotten stronger. As we know, the last time we seen Scyther battle was against Hoji, and he got destroyed, one-shotted by a fire-type move. But in this episode, Scyther's, shown that it's been practicing while Ash and Go have been going on their adventures, literally breaking the tree. Like, it didn't break the tree in half, but it nearly did. And it even takes on a full fire-type move in this episode. So Scyther has gotten pretty strong, and I'm really excited to see his next battle because I just like the idea that it's been training in the parks, while Go's been going on adventures. Professor Sakuragi also ends up mentioning something very interesting to me, and that's the fact that the Pokemon have made their own groups within the lab. Basically, how like all the water types are their own group, the Pokemon that hang out with Golurk, the bug types, the normal and poison types. Like, I think that's a really interesting concept that, yes, these are all Go's Pokemon, but they all basically have their own nature groups. Like, I think that's pretty cool that they're doing this. And we get to see throughout this episode that these Pokemon are just constantly fighting. Also, I actually like the moments with Ash's Pokemon a lot. Dragonite, Ash asks his Dragonite to help stop the fight, and Dragonite's like, just sit back, watch, and let them handle their own problem. And Gengar's moment was pretty funny as well, where basically Ash was like, Gengar could be the one that's pulling pranks with the food, but Gengar just comes in and is like, don't blame me for this, and just freaking whacks Ash with a Shadow Ball. Sandile and Mischievous were the highlight of this episode. Basically, Mischievous and Sandile thought that the Pokemon were just taking all the food, so they decided that they were going to pull a prank, show how strong they were, and basically the Pokemon would give them food. Using the tree that was already cut by Scyther, mind you, Sandile just does one little kick and cuts the tree in half. And a lot of the Pokemon were looking up to them like, oh, y'all so amazing. And ended up relying on Sandile and Mischievous to take out the bug-type Pokemon, which was just hilarious. Especially with their reaction. Like, they were like, go on. You can do it. You took out that tree. And they're just like, oh, shoot. And while all this is going on, the Cascoons are trying to evolve. But, it's just so much commotion that they really can't in this predicament. And this is where Golurk actually comes in. I really do like this moment. They mentioned early on that Golurk's like a protector to the park. And they really do show this in this moment where the Pokemon fighting almost injured the Cascoons, but Golurk actually goes in to protect them. But that causes the seal on his chest to actually break, and it goes into a complete rampage. And I gotta say, this moment was the true highlight of this episode because this is where a lot of Ghost Pokemon end up working together, even Ash's as well. Like, throughout this episode, we get to see Riolu hanging out with Ash, and I really do like his personality. Like, it still seems to be, it's still a baby Pokemon at the end of the day, even though it showed that it was really strong. We see moments of it hiding behind Ash at times, so it's still a baby. But seeing these Pokemon, even Cubone, my man Cubone is back. We haven't seen you since your capture episode. I'm so happy for that. But all the Pokemon end up working together to help Golurk get his seal back and to protect the Cascoons, because while Golurk's seal was placed back onto his chest, the rain that he brought upon this park was still happening, and it ended up causing the park to flood. And in this moment, we get to see every Pokemon in the park in one nice, amazing shot, working together to put this thing together. Like, basically keep the Cascoon safe. And also, I gotta say, this park is pretty huge. Like, I didn't realize just how big it was until this episode, because we get to see many moments of the different size of the parks. And I just think that's a really nice and interesting concept right there. Like, Go can possibly fit, maybe not 800 Pokemon, but Go can fit quite a lot of Pokemon in this park. And with everyone working together, they finally were able to let the Cascoons evolve. And I gotta say, I like how last episode focused on Beautyfly and Ashyfly, of course. And this episode focused on Dustox. Like, I just think that's a cool little parallel with the previous 2 episodes. Like, that's just kind of funny. And this has me wondering, will Go actually end up getting Beautyfly in this series? Now, I still think that there could be a chance of a Galarian Dustox in the DLC. And if there's a Galarian Dustox, that means there could be a Galarian Beautyfly as well. So Go could end up getting a Galarian form, and he might just get that one instead. That's a possibility. But yeah, the 3 Dustox finally emerge and end up clearing up this whole storm in a really nice scene. Restoring peace to the park once again, and the Pokemon finally can work together and also eat together. Like, we get to see the Pokemon are finally eating once again. Which I gotta say, this episode was really nice to show off Ash and Go's Pokemon, especially Go, because that's one of my issues that I had with the series. I was like, Go's catching all this Pokemon. This is cool, but are we gonna have time to ever focus on each of these Pokemon and their personalities? But this episode showed me this series can do that, and I'm really looking forward to see future episodes focused on the park. We also end up finding out that the culprit is none other than Squoovit, the Gen 8 normal type Pokemon. And the Pokedex ends up stating that this Pokemon stores food, just in case of, like, basically for backup. So all this time, this Squoovit was the one taking all the food. And I just think that's kind of funny. I had a feeling it could be the Squoovit because, Greedent is like a greedy Pokemon that likes to eat. But at the same time, I did think this was going to be Morpeko's debut, because in the trailer, we get to see Morpeko eating like a bag of chips. But Morpeko will be saved for the Galar episodes, which will be pretty interesting. Overall, I gotta say, this was a nice episode for the anime to come back on. Now, yes, it wasn't really hype. Like, there wasn't no big thing. This wasn't Ash versus Karina or the Galar episodes or anything like that. But I think they made a smart decision coming back on this episode. Basically, this episode was a recap of the series almost. Like, say if we came back on another episode, many of us already don't remember a lot of Ghost Pokemon because a lot of his captures were just kind of quick side moments. But with this episode focusing on these Pokemon, we really got to see their personalities and remind ourselves, okay, Go caught, for example, Sparrow. Go caught Squoovit. Like, I think that was a pretty good move that they made with this episode. Other than that, there's not too much I can say about this episode. It was really funny. And I do recommend everyone check this episode out, because this is the first episode back. Like, say if we were still going weekly, I would have said, if you want a good laugh, just check this episode out. But I do recommend everyone check this out, because this is the episode back, everyone. It focuses on each and every one of Ghost Pokemon. And, it kind of gets a higher rating since this is the first episode back. Like, man, that hiatus was something serious. Also, I would like to give a quick shout out to my buddy, Awesome Sauce, Tom. He's another Pokemon anime YouTuber. And he actually pointed out on Twitter that in next week's episode, we're going to get some continuity with the Matori Matrix returning. As we see on the picture on the left, that's from Sun and Moon when the Matori Matrix first debuted. The picture on the right is from next week's episode where the Matori Matrix return. And considering the fact that this guy is returning, like this is just such a small but amazing detail that they brought this character back. I think it's highly possible that we will see a Alolan Meowth return in this episode. Our first big return from the Sun and Moon anime. I'm super excited for that, and I'm hoping that is the case. This series has been doing an amazing job with continuity. I'm loving it so much, and this just gets me more and more pumped up for the Karina episode, because we don't know what they could throw at us in this episode. Like, we know this is about a rematch between Ash and Karina, and they do state that they remember each other. But, just so much more can happen. We could see the picture from X and Y, or even, I'm still thinking Greninja could return in this episode. We've been seeing a lot of Greninja merch lately. There's no episodes related to a Greninja though, but the summary does state Go plays just as important role as Ash does in this episode. So that could end up happening. I'm really pumped for the Kreen episode. The 2 Galar episodes, and just what else this series has to hold for us. I'm glad that the series is back once again, and I can't wait to see what all they have in store. But in the comment section, please let me know what you all thought of today's episode, the first episode back. I'm glad to be back reviewing this series, and I can't wait to, just produce more videos for you all. In the comments down below, let me know what y'all thought of this episode. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. TreyMan1, peace out.